I feel that every single recording that I do starts off with, well, it's been a while since I sat down and played this. But, yeah, the reason why that's important in this case is because you're obviously going to be very task-oriented when going through a build, and I don't really know what those tasks are. If I look through this, immediately I can tell that I've got a solid weapon here, fully upgraded Eitor, that's good. I can see that I need to get a new shield, and I also need to improve this armor set. If I recall, I was wanting to get the Kirk armor set. Almost said Dirk, it's Kirk. Yeah, I haven't forgotten that much after all, have I? It did immediately come to me just as I was talking. It didn't immediately come to me, it came to me as I was talking. I wasn't sure what armor set I was going to make. But now I remember that it was Kirk's armor set because it's not, the Thorn armor set, I believe it's called. It just doesn't seem to feature in previous builds that I've done. I just don't use it, so I'm getting it just for something a little different, and to be honest, I think it would work with a sort of dexterity pyromancy build. It looks right. You know, if I had, say, the Channeler's armor set for a PyroDex build, it would seem not quite right. That's just an example of a set that wouldn't gel nicely versus what I think is appropriate, which is the Thorn armor set. It is good to see you all again, I will say. Haven't been uploading that much to the Doomlink channel, but I'm sure that will change. I suspect that some of you might be waiting for Dark Souls 3, I don't know. It really depends on how much you hang on my every word. I think in previous recordings that I've done this year, in Dark Souls 2 and the original Dark Souls, I've mentioned a willingness and an inclination to play Dark Souls 3 very soon. I've now changed my mind, because those of you who either watch me frequently or watch me intermittently will understand that across Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2, I don't really play those very consistently, so am I really going to add another game to that list? I'm not sure. I'm sure I understood that when I was discussing it last time, and maybe I'd come to a different conclusion then, based on all of the information. But I've now come to a different conclusion, that's just the reality of it. I don't want to spread myself too thin. I'm becoming reminded of a time when I started in Let's Playing, so 2009, 2010. Particularly in 2010, I had reached a point where I was recording so many Let's Plays that it was very difficult to get on top of them, and I became a little bit overwhelmed. But yeah, there's no need whatsoever for me to repeat the same mistake, especially after so many years have passed. I really should have learnt my lesson on that one. But I am feeling a little bit keen to try it again. I'm doing a lot of recording series, aren't I? I'm not going to list them, but yeah, I'm doing a lot. Anyway, what shield would go well with that set? You see, the thing is, the Hollow Soldier shield, and when I say that set, I'm referring to the Thorn armor set. When you look at the Hollow Soldier shield in its picture there, it looks like the right coloration because there's a shadow being cast on it. But when you're actually equipping it and walking around with it, you realize that it's much more of a light grey to silver coloration rather than a dark grey. And I definitely want more of a dark grey, so I suspect that the Black Knight shield might be best. I'm always a little bit uncomfortable with using the Black Knight shield because I do consider it to be basically an inferior version of the Silver Knight shield. It also looks slightly smaller than it should. I don't know if any of you have noticed that, but when you become used to the appearance of the Silver Knight shield, equipping the Black Knight shield makes it feel like it's a miniature form of what it should be. It's got a narrower shape to the Silver Knight shield, and consequently I think the actual scale of it is smaller. It is a physically smaller shield than the Silver Knight shield, so I don't think that's a bad thing. Otherwise, you've basically got a color difference, and that's the only difference between the two shields. It's good that they've actually gone to the trouble of making two different shields, but yeah. I'm much more comfortable with the Silver Knight shield, not just in terms of its appearance, but also its function, the utility of using the shield. And, yeah, so if I were to use the Black Knight shield, it would be for appearances and nothing more. Now, how far through we? Let me rephrase that in English. How far through the game are we? I did see that we had the Covenant of Artorias ring, so we've taken care of Sif. I suspect that we haven't killed... Oh no, we have killed the 4 kings. We have felled the 4 kings, in fact. I saw the word fell in there and decided to use that verb instead. It's a little bit more literary, and perhaps we could even say gratuitous. But, yeah, is there anything that is really, really pressing for me to do before I proceed? I do have to admit that Estus Flask at +2 after killing the 4 kings is not ideal, but I can persist. I can I can continue with an Estus Flask of that level. It's not the end of the world. I think my intention was to push ahead to Lost Izalith first, so that I could get the Thorn armor set. That would make sense. How many appearances of Kirk are there? I'm just going to take a moment to make sure that I haven't missed any appearances. I do know that I, not just once, but twice, ventured into the depths to make sure that I had killed Kirk, because I wasn't 100% sure that I had done it. But I do remember checking twice, so I'm going to trust that he has been killed there. But I think there's only... I think he appears in 2 separate places in Lost Izalith, doesn't he? So in the I think in the Demon Ruins he appears, if I'm remembering that correctly. Let me just make sure. My recollection of it is that he appears in the Demon Ruins, and then he will appear later in Lost Izalith. So let's check that out. What is my keyboard doing? Come on. Respond to my inputs, please. Thank you. Bloody crap. Dark Souls Kirk appearances. So, courtesy of DuckDuckGo, which, you know, doesn't quite function as well as Google at times. First result, ebay.com.au. Get your Dark Soul. Get Dark Soul on eBay. What? What on earth is that? To start with, the search was plural, Dark Souls. And I would suspect that they've just filled in my search terms into a pre-filled thing relating to eBay. Get your Dark Soul. Relating to shopping. It doesn't make any sense. It's probably the strangest insertion of a website into one's search results that I've ever seen. It blows my mind. It's referred to as an ad, but what they've done is they have created a product that doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a Dark Soul that I can buy on eBay, okay? It doesn't exist. Anyway, absolutely extraordinary, and, yeah, obviously I'm not going to start ripping into DuckDuckGo, but really, that's a bit distracting. So we've got the Depths, Demon Ruins, and Lost Izalith, so... Only if you have not defeated the Demon Fire Sage. You'll also need to place the Lord Vessel for him to appear. He appears on the stairwell with all the Capra demons. That coheres with my recollections. We'll put it that way. I apologize that when I alt-tab the game you can't hear anything. It's just one of the downsides to an older PC game. I am playing the original PC game, so the windowed mode is not really true windowed. Obviously it's referred to as windowed mode, but for those of you who remember windowed mode of the past, it's not as flexible and pleasant as modern windowed mode. Not that 2012 was a million years ago, but still a little bit... windowed gaming was still a somewhat new thing at that time. Somewhat. Okay, what I'm going to do is make my way to the Demon Ruins. The fact that I'm in Firelink Shrine doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't go to the Demon Ruins in the previous recording. I really wonder if there is a desire among any of you for me to familiarize myself with what I was doing at the end of the last recordings that I do. Because, yeah, inevitably I end up returning months later not completely remembering what the hell I was doing. And if you're going through each of these recordings sequentially for one reason or another... Where the hell am I going again? I'm going this way. I bet I can just warp to the... Do I have the... This is quite crucial. Do I have access to the... Bed of Chaos? Not Bed of Chaos. What's it called again? Daughter of Chaos. Bonfire. I knew there was something relating to Chaos in there. I got it right eventually. I don't know if I have access to that bonfire, because I don't suspect that I rested at the bonfire last time I was there. I seem to have a vague memory of having gone back to the Demon Ruins, and possibly I've even killed the Demon Fire Sage, and one would also hope, therefore, that I've killed Kirk for the second time. But we're going to discover it together, ladies and gentlemen. We will go on a journey and find out. Of course, the implication here of needing to have Kirk appear with the Demon Fire Sage still alive is that you can actually miss your opportunity to get the Armor of Thorns. I wouldn't imagine for even a moment that I would have been so negligent as to kill the Demon Fire Sage without taking care of the second appearance. So, I do not have access to that bonfire, which honestly suggests to me that I haven't made a second visit to that part of the world. Because if I have already been there with the Lord Vessel, definitely would have rested at that bonfire. The reason why I don't rest at that bonfire is because I like to be able to homeward bone all the way back to Firelink, or if not to Firelink, then at least to Blighttown, when taking on Quelaag for the first time. Almost missed my my exit there. That would have been extremely annoying. Alright. Onward to, hopefully, the Thorn armor, which is going to require at least 2 bosses to be killed. We've got the Demon Fire Sage and that weird caterpillar thing, which, centipede, excuse me. Wrong insect. It's definitely not a caterpillar. But that's alright. It's not like I looked at it and then described it as a caterpillar. I was going based on, I don't know, some kind of recollection that I had not fully formed in my mind, because had I done, I wouldn't have said caterpillar. Maybe next time I'll call it a dragonfly, or some other creature. Whoa! I think that may have been... In other words, the movement of my camera there, being very sudden and very disruptive to what I was doing, may have been caused by movements from one of those fat creatures. Their name escapes me at this time. I do not remember what they're called. I just know that they give you dung pie, which is a delicacy, especially in Blighttown. That's why this place looks so desolate. Can't survive on dung pie for long. You really can't. There's a reason why we expel our dung. It's because we don't need it. There is no nutrition. Not for us. Anyway, don't think we need any more scatological references. Oh, my mouse is, my cursor rather, is doing very eccentric things. I did not intend for that. The weirdest thing with my PS4 controller is that very suddenly and randomly, well, not randomly, I think I know the reason for it. Quite suddenly though, and initially inexplicably, my controller just stopped working as it used to. And I had to remap my controls for basically everything, except for Steam games, I suppose. Steam still recognizes the controller, thankfully. But, consequently, I can't use the touchpad in the way that I used to. So the touchpad used to be able to control my cursor, which is really, really useful for when I just want to get the cursor off the screen while recording something. So, you know, oftentimes I might Alt-Tab to a web page and then come back into the game, and perhaps my cursor is still on the screen, and then I would just be able to brush the touchpad with my thumb and move the cursor off. I can still sort of do that here, but not really. It doesn't have that sort of universal function. It used to work just in general, whether I was in a game or not. It just had power over my cursor. It no longer does. As for the reason why this happened, Windows Update. It coincided with a Windows update, so I'm going to assume that it was that. Very annoying. Maybe I need to update DS4, because I do use DS4 Windows, so... I would suspect that there will be an update, if there isn't one already, in the event that that was caused by a Windows update. I understand that Windows has to update things on occasion. But, yeah, I am still using Windows 10. I am using the machine that I built in 2017. It's starting to show its age, in some ways. But it's, I will be replacing it when I can. It's not going to be replaced with an interim machine, or something that's temporary. It's going to be replaced with something that will have similar longevity to my current machine. But, yeah, it's still running Windows 10. I'm not very interested in Windows 11. I did end up getting a laptop that has Windows 11, but in context with playing video games and, you know, the full operation of a PC, I only really use that laptop for very, very basic things. I don't have much experience with Windows 11, and, you know, as much as I'd like to say that Windows 11 is abysmal, because even with my limited experience of it, it seems to be more of a meme than an actual operating system. I don't have full experience of it, so I'm not going to be negative about it. Not right now. As you can see, still not great performance in this area, even though it's on PC. If you're playing on original hardware, you will find that performance here is truly subpar. Beneath the standard that was quite frankly expected of video games of the time. But that's alright. Do you know why that's alright? It's because Dark Souls is one of the best games ever made, so they're allowed to sort of drop the ball on certain things. Speaking of dropping the ball, I'm supposed to be here in a state of being alive. The reason why that was phrased so weirdly is because I was trying to use the phrase reverse hollowing. I was trying to include that in the sentence, and I completely failed by the time I got to the end of the sentence, so there you have it. Alright, let us conduct reverse hollowing. We are doing this, of course, to fight Mr. What's-his-face? The guy whose name is not Dirk. Just a reminder, I'm having to go through that menu and select random things, so that I'm not stuck at the bonfire. Really quite a terrible glitch for the original PC version. One of the reasons why you might be dissuaded from playing the original PC version. I've said it before, there's no particular reason to play the original PC version now that it's very expensive. It's become a sort of digital collector's item, shockingly. But I'm sure you'd be able to download it, come to think of it. I just seem to remember that... That's right, I was wondering why I had actually gone looking for it. I was looking on a CD key website for this game so that I could give it to my friend Ethan so that we would be able to play this game together. But it was extraordinarily expensive. It was like $70 or something like that. But I suppose you can just download the thing. I'm sure there'd be ways to do that. I'm speaking as a person who hasn't downloaded video games, like pirated video games, for about 15 years now. So, well, that's probably not true. Probably closer to 10 years, to be honest with you. 10 or 11 years. But I was a latecomer to Steam precisely because I used to just pirate my games. And then after a certain point, I just didn't want the the inconsistency of pirated video games anymore. I just wanted something that I knew was going to work, that I wasn't going to have problems with, and, you know, something that wasn't going to give my computer AIDS, okay? That's what I really wanted, and that's what I got with non-pirated video games. So, yeah, the year of 2013 was when I finally got on Steam, and haven't looked back. Someone's going to say that I'm, you know, unnecessarily married to Steam, too attached. Tribal, perhaps. But I have no interest in spreading myself across multiple platforms on PC. But that's alright. That's a separate conversation. I'm not even going to get into that conversation because some people probably have rather strong views on that, and possibly think that I'm rather absurd for not, you know, having GOG and Epic Games and these other things. Yeah, no. Not interested, sorry. So the second confrontation will give you the weapons. I don't remember getting anything from the first confrontation, but the second one you get the barbed straight sword and the spiked shield. Now, of course, if you really hate yourself, you can use this as a weapon. Like, as an actual weapon. I did it in Demon Souls for some reason. Absolutely extraordinary that I took the time to do a spiked shield build where I had 2 spiked shields in that game. Bit of a different shield. It was slightly different design. A little bit flatter. This one's got a much more rounded shape. The one in Demon Souls is silver and is much flatter. And yeah, it was not great. Not a great build. Might be interesting in the title of a video, but that's about it. As soon as you watch me use it, it's unexciting. Oh, give it a rest. Look at that. I mean, you would think there'd be some splash damage for that, wouldn't you? But I don't think that's the way they designed the Great Fireball. Oh god, I'm a little concerned that you wouldn't be flinched there. Good night. We have to remember that I'm very, very well leveled for this area, or perhaps not leveled, but my character progression is sound. I have a fully upgraded Iaito with how much dexterity? 35. I mean, 35 dexterity isn't absolutely breathtakingly over-leveled. It's pretty standard, but again, we've got a fairly robust weapon, and I would say pretty good pyromancy, so... But I would describe our build as balanced at the moment. It's good in some ways, and then lacking in others. Armor set, for instance. Good armor set to get in the early game, but it starts to really lag behind. Because you can't actually upgrade it at all. It's because of all of its resistances. It's got a high level of resistances, so you use it... I think it's meant to be used situationally. It's not really something that you rely on for the entirety of the game and, you know, steadily upgrade for use in the end game. Hello, A-Gaming, good to see you. It's worth mentioning that I'm streaming at a strange time. I'm not really expecting many people to tune in. Didn't give much notice either. I'm going to do another great fireball. Is this going to make contact? Well, fortunately he ran into it, so that makes it a little easier for me. Goodbye. Fair enough. A-Gaming was just stopping by to say hello. He's going to bed. Case in point. Strange time for me to be recording. Feels good to play Souls again. The last time I played a Souls game was when I was last recording this, so... Or perhaps it was Demon Souls. Yeah, technically Demon Souls. Which was still probably like 3 months ago, something like that. But... yeah. No, I was about to say, oh, here I am being foolish and wasting my pyromancies before even getting to the boss, and then I remembered, no, it's a boss that's literally made of fire, so I wouldn't want to be using my pyromancies against it. Good on me. Good on me. Okay. I don't think that's even worth taking, whatever that is. Soul of a Proud Knight at this stage in the game? Technically, you can get to here at the very beginning of the game. It's the door to the Demon Fire Sage that is sealed by... well, what's it actually sealed by? I hadn't really thought of that. It's a game mechanism. It's a game whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's... it only opens up when you place the Lord Vessel, but if I were to describe what it was sealed by, what would I say? Big orange door? I mean, it's a good description, but it's not really identifying what it is. Anyway, here comes Mr. Taurus Demon. You're going to keep me up on your 4K TV. Very good. A lot of people do use me to go to sleep. Nothing wrong with that. Just going to make sure that game volume is okay. The reason why the game the game sound completely shut off because I was alt-tabbing to OBS just to check the audio levels. I'm happy with them. I know it sounds counterintuitive. I'm going to cut the game audio to then check my audio levels, but what it does is it shows me where the loudest sounds previously were reaching on the audio meter, so I'm able to get sort of like an echo of how loud the game was before I alt-tabbed. And yeah, that was fine. That would have been a pretty loud moment, but that's totally acceptable. As for you, sir, I don't like you. I've never liked these things. Occasionally I get distracted and I walk too close to them. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's just not worth it. I've still got fire orbs equipped because I don't really have that much pyromancy. Oh god. They move strangely. And you're not obliged to engage with them at all. Like, you... See that shit? Okay, is he gonna kill me? This is why I don't waste my time with you people. I probably shouldn't call you people, even colloquially. But, they just have a grabbing attack that you can't really evade. Yes, you can iframe the initial moment of contact, but the contact doesn't stop. That's the point. It's a very, very long-running point of contact. So unless you're actually evading out of the way of it, as opposed to through it, you're not actually going to get out of it. So that's really annoying, obviously. That's what happens when you waste your time fighting enemies that you never fight. It's because there was probably a reason why you never bothered with it, Doomlink, and you've just had a stark reminder as to why you do not waste time fighting those things. Because obviously the fighting of it is wasting time for various reasons, and now I'm wasting even more time by going back there. But that's alright, I'm going to have my pyromancies for the Fire Sage this time. Very important. Maybe he overheats because you add more fire to his body. Maybe he's just very carefully regulating his temperature, and by throwing more fire on him, you're actually going to harm him. Interesting theory, but... well, actually, it's not that interesting, but... it is quaint. That's one thing I can say. There was a motorbike in the driveway behind me. There's something about that guy and his motorbike. As soon as I go live, he's straight on that thing. He's ready to go, hey, Doomlink's live. Let's go for a ride. That's what he does. I'm not going to begrudge him a motorbike ride, though. I'd be doing it if I could afford it. Or perhaps I wouldn't be, I don't know. I still don't know if I want to get a bike at any point. I'm always toing and froing in my mind as to whether I want to even take the risk of riding a motorbike. Someone will probably say, if you're worried about that, you probably shouldn't have a bike. Which is a fair point. No one said that to me, but I think logically, if you're sitting there worrying about the dangers of riding on the road with a motorbike, like, don't even bother. But it's the pragmatist in me. I don't even know if you'd call that pragmatism. It's probably more like not wanting to have a permanent, debilitating injury. Perfectly acceptable. You know, it's not about being alive or not being alive. It's about, well, am I going to lose the ability to walk if I get into a crash. You know, things like these. Things like this play on my mind every day. Not really. Just when I think about riding a motorbike. Is it really worth the risk? That's the big question. And just to close off the conversation, it's not about whether I'm confident or not about my ability to avoid getting into an accident. It's about, you know, the chances of someone else being irresponsible on the road. That's what it comes down to. You can be as careful as you can, but you can't really account for other people's stupidity and other people's irresponsibility. And unfortunately, when you're on a bike, it's just you and the road. It's just you in that vehicle that's slamming into the side of you. Anyway, that's the end of that conversation. Let's see if I can get this without getting caught. I managed. You're playing a dangerous game, Doomlink. I must confess. I think there's pyromancy down that way. No, it's like the Chaos Ember, isn't it? There is something of significance down that way. And I think it's the Chaos Ember. But, anyway. I've got small creatures after me. So I will deal with them. I'm becoming a bit parched, so I might need a drink of water. I was about to ask if this was a safe place to stand. Question, did you respawn? Where the hell did you come from? Were you down here? You know, you must have been down here. Alright, let's just deal with him. I immediately had my answer before I even asked the question as to whether or not it was safe for me to stand there and go and get a drink of water. Oh, for goodness sake. I'm reacting to my own inability to evade this monster's attacks. What is going on? I'm getting direct messages from someone saying, "What's up, poopy?" If that's a bot, these bots are getting a little unnerving. Anyway. I'm becoming a little bit perturbed by my inability to even engage this thing in combat, so I might, very briefly for my own entertainment, read these direct messages which fired through. Like, 2 of them fired through very quickly, and the first one was like, "Hey, what's up, poopy?" or something like that. What the fuck does that mean? Are you insulting me, or are you trying to endear yourself to me? I really don't even know where to start. How do I even get to my direct messages? They come up on the screen, right? Here we go, activity. Whispers, that's what they're calling it. "What's up, poopy? How are things going for you? I've been watching your channel for days. Just decided to say hi and follow." Perhaps it was a coincidence that I was live when this person decided to get in contact with me. And they're not currently watching the live stream. If you are watching the live stream, just chat below. I would like it if other people could see you refer to me as Poopy. It's not a nickname that I was expecting, but anyway. Never been called that in my life until today. Before today. Hitherto, people have not referred to me as Poopy. Alright, I will be back momentarily, just need to get a cool, hydrating beverage for my throat. rather than a cool hydrating beverage, it's more like a room temperature hydrating beverage. So maybe I mean cool as in, that's cool, man. Which is acceptable. I think water's cool. Say no to alcohol. Say yes to water and hydration. Bottoms up. Alright. That Taurus demon can fuck off. I'm taking on the Demon Fire Sage with 3 Estus Flasks at +2. What that translates to, I'm going to distill that information for you into something palatable and clear. I have to play pretty well. Well, not amazingly well, actually. Let me rephrase that. I have to play in a way that's not shit. Because if I play in a way that's shit, it's not going to work out very well for me. I managed to very quickly bleed him, though. Or inflict bleeding. I didn't realize that this boss was that susceptible to bleed damage. That's extraordinary. Case in point, you'd have to play pretty poorly in order to need more than 3 Estus Flasks. Some would say taking a hit in general would be indicative of poor play. Which probably means that I'm always playing like shit when going up against him. Demon's Catalyst. That is a catalyst that I never use. Ever. I don't remember the reason why. There must be a reason. Whether it's the magic adjust value, maybe it's something else. Is there something else about it that is an issue? Well, it starts off at 39 magic adjust. I don't remember that being a good amount. Can't really remember what the starting catalysts give you, but I don't know. I can't really see. It seems that it's got fire element, but that's obviously not going to relate to any casting. It's not like you're going to get fire damage on your spells, and you're certainly not going to be using it for pyromancy. There are no fire spells in this game. Pyromancy replaced that. So, you know, having fire damage in this case just means that it's a better weapon to hit people with, and I'm not going to say that if you're hitting people with a catalyst you're doing it wrong. Maybe there are some builds where you could do that and that would be rather fun, but yeah, I've never had a reason to make that catalyst. It has to be said. I'm not even going to equivocate on the matter. I will be candid and transparent. I do not use builds where I am tempted to hit people with catalysts, although the Manus catalyst, as I recall, being a big fucking club-looking thing, does work rather well as a blunt object with which to hit people. Well, it's not amazing, but kind of didn't want to do that. I'm going to go and rest at that bonfire. That's what I'm going to do. It'll give me 10 Estus Flasks, you know, which is going to be superior to the other... Stop it. It's going to be superior to the bonfire leading up to the Centipede Demon. And, yeah. Wearing this armor set sets me in good stead to fight the Centipede Demon, I think, due to its fire resistance, which should be good. Fire defense 58. I'm pretty sure that fire defense stat does relate to the damage dealt by lava. I don't think lava damage exists outside of fire defense. But it could, and I'll tell you why. If it's fire defense that causes you, or rather, fire defense that affects the amount of damage that you take from lava, would that mean that the lava resistance ring gives you a massive amount of fire defense? I'm pretty sure that it doesn't. And so on the basis that it doesn't give you lots of fire defense, I'm going to assume that the lava exists outside of fire damage within the game. That is the most logical conclusion to draw. I'm sure I would have known little details like these in the past, but quite frankly, as you perambulate through life, potter around, you know, living life, I'll tell you what. Random little tidbits of information from Dark Souls that you learnt, 12 years ago, really do not figure. They don't figure anymore. They don't even need to exist in one's mind. And so they are cast away. Oh, that's not the door that I want. That's a door that I can't open. Case in point, I can't even remember where I'm going. Even though I have taken this path many times before. I'd say, out of all of the games that I've ever played, this is probably the game that I've replayed the most. I think I've replayed this more than Demon Souls. Pretty positive. Pretty positive. Those days of making builds for PvP. Remaking builds for PvP. God, the number of times I had to remake some builds. Because the reality is, you've only got one chance. And if you fuck it up, you just make a new build. That's what you do. And quite frankly, I could have gotten away with not remaking some of the builds that I remade, but I enjoyed playing the game, so I didn't mind, for the sake of getting a small edge over my previous build, just replaying the game. It wasn't problematic. I think 5. So what I used to do was I would put a Roman numeral next to the character name to indicate how many times I had remade it, or what version of the character it was. I think 5 was the highest that I got to. Pretty sure it was 5. That was a build called Red God. Can't quite remember what build it was now. Red God the 5th. Not really a good thing to have to remake a build that many times. It started off as one of my first builds. I think it was my second ever build that I made in Dark Souls. So, going back to 2011. As for the meaning behind the name Red God, I don't remember it. Like, probably relating to blood or something like that. You can probably imagine that calling it God of Blood would have been slightly more cringeworthy than calling it Red God. It's just a guess, though. I can't imagine any other significance of the color red outside of blood. There's no need to go critiquing random build names from eons ago. Oh. Sometimes he can be unpredictable. The best way to fight him is to get nice and close, but when you get nice and close, it can be hard to get a feel for his next action. What I really, really detest about this fight is how much the screen shakes. It's just, I understand you're trying to go for the impact of the physical size of the creature, and you're making everything vibrate, but my god. If you've got motion sickness, or photosensitive epilepsy, or something like that, fucking hell, don't play this game. That's all I can tell you. It's uncomfortable. What I would say is that it is fatiguing. I get visual fatigue fighting this boss. Thankfully, it's an easy boss, so I'm not subjected to it for extended periods of time, but my god, if you're sensitive, don't do it. Don't play the game. Okay, an orange ring enchanted by a witch reduces lava damage. So if I put it on, I'm assuming it's not going to in any way affect my fire defense. So flame defense 240. What am I doing? Putting the ring on, that's what I'm doing. Can't even remember what I'm doing from moment to moment. It has no effect. So, there you have it. Has no effect whatsoever. It's official. Lava damage is entirely separate to flame damage. And to be honest, I don't know if this is because I'm some kind of anorak, or I'm just a bit special, but the choice to use the word flame rather than fire seems to focus in on the fact that it's not fire, but in fact an actual flame, if that makes sense. So, like, you could say that this is fire, but you wouldn't say that it's flame. But this is... anyway, I'm not going to go into the specifics of magma and lava and its composition, etc. But... Whee! What am I doing? Did I actually unequip that ring? That's remarkably unusual for me to do. That sort of behavior is something I can't even explain. Because quite obviously there was more lava to come, so the idea that I would immediately unequip it, just, yeah. Unusual. Unusual. Alright, let's waste our time going back there. I have 100,000 souls. 108,000 if I remember correctly. On that bloodstain, so let us not lose it. Alright. You've made your point very clear. I must kill you in order to proceed. I'm happy to do that. The last thing I need is to get caught in your bullshit. And then lose 108,000 souls at soul level 55. Not to be encouraged. Let us equip the ring now, in case I forget to do so. It's not that I was worried that I would forget. It's more that I want to completely eliminate the possibility that I lose 108,000 souls at soul level 55. This is the most sensible way to proceed. Doomlink proclaimed. Weirdly, sometimes I just can't find the entrance to the next area. Well, not that I can't find it, but that I always expect it to be there, but it's actually around the corner. It has to do with the fact that by the time I'm fighting the centipede demon on this little island here, the entrance is very visible. But I, for some reason, always expect it to be visible from that door there. Not a very interesting point. I do realize that. But it is a point of conversation. It was 109,000 souls. Makes me wonder why I thought it was 108. You know, I either saw it or I didn't, so was it a guess? Or did I just somehow turn an 8? Rather, did I turn a 9 into an 8? I don't know. Strange things. The mind is a fascinating thing. I could have just guessed. I think I would have seen that it was over 100,000, so... yeah. Could have just guessed the third digit. Yeah, it's worth getting. If I'm going to stand there and wonder, it completely strips the legitimacy of not taking it, because not taking it would be to save time. But here I am expending time, figuring out if I want to take it or not. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing what we do. We do ridiculous things. Or maybe we can just focus it to I do ridiculous things. Greater specificity is needed. I shouldn't be lumping everyone else in with my strange behavior. Alright, we are almost at the bonfire. There is another, like over there, there's something. I don't remember what it is. I think it's a soul. It's like a soul of a hero, perhaps. But I'm not getting it for some reason. Should I go and get it? I probably should. Yeah, it's free souls. So... it would be foolish for me to not go and get it. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering it correctly. It's in a chest behind one of these doors. It's Not that one. Oh, I have enraged one of these bizarre headless things. Soul of a great hero. I was technically wrong. It wasn't a soul of a hero, it was a soul of a great hero. We don't want to forget that his heroic deeds have given him the accolade, not of hero, but great hero. Would not want to mischaracterize him. Or his legacy. So, I'm sure it's been discussed, but did they really just take the zombie dragon from the painted world for when his body had separated and just copied and pasted that multiple times into this area and then somehow managed to turn it into a working mob of some kind? Really strange. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in a video game. I can't even describe it as shoehorning an enemy into a game. It's more like you don't have any more enemies, so you just create one from random assets in the game. It's so bizarre that these things exist. Because there's no other reason for these zombie dragons to all be ripped apart in the exact same spot of their body and to just be walking around. I just don't understand it. Do you know? Because there's actually a scenario in which they do rip in that exact spot, and it's in the painted world. So they've definitely just pasted them in here. I shouldn't say pasted them in, that makes it sound like they're just objects, ornaments. They are actual enemies that attack you and do things. They have attack patterns. I think it's a very unusual addition to the game, something I've never understood. But, yeah. With the passage of time, I become slightly less incredulous. It has become normalized within my mind. One of the many peculiarities of game design. Alright. Just getting some extra souls here. This will be a nice level up. What are we dealing with? Ooh, very nice. So, what is our priority right now? This is important. Are there any stat requirements that I may want to pursue? I don't think so. I'm not going to be doing a quality build. I think my strength will be staying at 16. It's definitely going to be a Dex Pyro build. The argument could be made that any dexterity build that one does should be a Dex Pyro build, but I don't really like the idea of that. I don't know why. It's strange. I much prefer the idea of having two separate things. Dexterity and PyroDex. Okay. I'm leaning in the direction of vitality and endurance. Let's raise our endurance, because I suspect that the Thorn set is going to be much heavier, so the encumbrance associated with it will need to be dealt with. That's probably enough, isn't it? 27? The only downside to going that hard on it is that vitality is foregone. But I will be getting more souls when I kill the Bed of Chaos, so let's go with it. Obviously I have Havel's Ring assisting me, but bizarrely when you use Havel's Ring, it almost becomes inconceivable that you would have a build where you didn't have it. You become so reliant on the additional equip load that you receive from it that it almost doesn't even factor in. I definitely need to make more builds where I don't rely on Havel's Ring. For those of you who are pretty familiar with the builds that I've done on YouTube for Dark Souls, you will know that I think I use Havel's Ring for all of them. Really isn't necessary. I think it's laziness on my part to not even check to see if I need it or not. I just seem to occupy that ring slot with something that just is always there. It's a non-negotiable. I forgot to do something again. And I think we all know what it is. If you haven't noticed, then that's alright. The important point is that I noticed, and I'm going to fix that right now. I almost never go backwards through here. It feels rather strange. It feels like I'm playing a modded version of the game. I know that sounds slightly ridiculous, but it's true. It's as if I'm going through a fan-made extension of Lost Izalith when I go that way. Because essentially you're seeing the same location with new eyes from a different perspective, and one that I haven't actually experienced before. That was a bit tautological. I already said it was a new perspective. Of course I haven't bloody experienced it before. Alright. Onward. I will equip the wolf ring once I get here. That's not going to be a problem, I always do that. Just didn't previously. So, always, except not always. That's the problem with absolutes. Don't use absolute words. It's always good to be accurate with one's use of English. More often than not. Commonly. Anyway. I'm just going to deal with all of these things. I don't want any of them to be following me when I am taking on Kirk. Not that Kirk is going to offer much of a challenge. Is it even worth picking that thing up? I don't think I've ever picked up that item. Tell you what, it's incredible the number of times that you play through a game and then you find a drop that you may have never actually picked up before. Wow. How strange is that? I'm just so focused on this enemy up here every time that I approach these stairs that I don't even think to look over here. Very odd. It's fascinating that you can play a game so many times and yet still find new things. It rather exemplifies the value of playing things repeatedly. Alright, so we've got Quaylana up here. I don't know where Kirk appears. I think it's in the same general area, isn't it? I'm not sure. Let's just deal with Quaylana. I think Kirk appears as I... perhaps it's as I kill Quaylana. They probably just don't want a situation where I'm dealing with both. Man. Get a health upgrade. I've fought you 3 times now. You don't appear to have increased your defense, or your health, or whatever sort of stat that exists within the real world of Dark Souls. You must fortify your endurance. Or don't. Wait, where's the armor set? Or is it sold? Is it sold by the guy in Firelink Shrine? It had fucking better be. I definitely have not missed a confrontation. Alright, let's have a look. Armor of Thorns. This had better be sold by... Okay, so you find it where the fair lady is. Who is the fair lady? I am admittedly using Fextra Life. It's a bit like admitting to, I don't know, a depraved fetish that one has when saying that I'm using Fextra Life. Fair lady. It's by the 6 spider. Thank you, AJ. Let me try to remember where that is. The 6 spider. I've forgotten where that is. Basically, it's... And I don't really understand this. It's like... It's Quelaag's sister, but... Oh, you mean, yes, you are referring to the one with the bonfire, the one with the covenant. That's what you mean by 6, Spyro. When you said that, I had in my head a vision of like a grayed out, dead Quailana the spider. I'm a little bit confused. I think there's the spider, which is Quailana, and then there's also this woman that I killed, which is Quailana. I don't get it. I'm sure wires have been crossed in my memory, and I'm terribly confused. But life goes on. I've killed Kirk 3 times, and I wasn't meant to get it from his body there. That's what's important. I just don't want to be under any illusions that I've somehow missed the Thorn armor set. Let's fight the Bed of Chaos. I truly dislike this boss. I just want to say that at the outset. I'm sure I say it every time. This is the one boss that gives me trouble in the whole of Dark Souls. I have no issues with any other boss. This is it. It's the only one. And the strangest thing is that, logically speaking, I shouldn't struggle with it. I know the procedure. I know what to do right, and what to avoid doing. And yet it still manages to catch me. For some reason. Everyone has an Achilles heel. Not to be self-congratulatory about it. Fuck off. Obviously this part is not in any way problematic. It's when you get to the final stage. I love that you can just roll into it. That's quite funny. I usually take the left path first. So I'm already putting myself at a disadvantage by not going in the direction I normally go. And this is why. This is why I don't go in that direction. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm being an absolute twit. And the reality is that I now have 41,000 souls sitting on the right side. So I'm literally just going to be going in that direction just to get those souls back. And then what? I'm going to Homeward Bone back. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is absurd. So the position that I'm in is that I have 2 Homeward Bones. And I am of the mind to use one of them just to Homeward Bone back after getting my souls, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I hate this boss. I have always hated it. It is stupid. I think that I did reach a point where I felt like I had conquered it, but I've lost whatever secret ingredient, whatever strategy I had in my head, whatever procedure that I would follow to consistently beat this boss without even having to Homeward Bone, much less die repeatedly. It's just gone now, and I hate it. Oh, okay, you do the save and quit to walk back to the fog gate. That is a good point. That is something that I had completely forgotten about, and I thank you for reminding me, because I think that's the secret ingredient that I was just referring to. Because I did at some point start doing that, and I had better results. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to save and quit, because you are right. It does take you back outside of the boss fight when you do that. That is definitely better than Homeward Boning and running all the way back. So, let's do that. I think that is the secret ingredient that I'm missing. The tragedy of it is that I had completely forgotten. It's just gone from your mind. You don't know what is missing from your mind when it's gone a lot of the time. A forgotten memory is a memory that may as well just not even exist, so... There you go. Fucking hand. How annoying is that? Oh, no, 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 no. There goes 41,000 souls. That's fine. It's because I was prioritizing healing over evading, but I thought that I'd be able to get a heal out in time. No, the reality is that I couldn't. And so here I am dying twice to the Bed of Chaos, having only destroyed 1 of 2 destroyable things, and whilst simultaneously losing 41,000 souls due to my own incompetence. That's all right. I'll be able to get those back, I suspect. Not literally those exact souls back, but I will probably grind them elsewhere. I hate this boss. I fucking detest this creature. This fucking irritating boss that quite frankly had no business being this fiddly. Yeah, it's not even a boss fight, it's like an interactive cutscene. It's just shit. It's the one weak point of this game. But maybe that's just because I'm not good at it. Maybe it's because I'm not, saving and quitting. Quitting to title screen and reloading. Like, fucking hell. I don't necessarily have to fight the boss now, but there would be absolutely no reason not to. Absolutely no reason not to. In a way, it's free souls, but not really. I guess what I mean to say is that your progress as a character is not going to affect the way you fight this boss, because damage does not play any part. It does not have a role to play. I suppose your defense can change things. I also hate the slowness. The fucking insult, honestly. In fact, there's nothing there for me to pick up. What am I doing? There are no souls. It's the one boss that I can't seem to figure out. Or at least on this occasion, I'm struggling with it. On this occasion, at this time, the bed of chaos is shitting on me, and that's fine. The key to success in Dark Souls sometimes is not to just get it right the first time. It's to have the fortitude and the stoicism, the patience to keep trying and trying in the face of failure. That is, if we're going to talk about secret ingredients, that's definitely an ingredient for success in Dark Souls. Anyway. AJ thinks that the game falls apart after Ornstein and Smo. I think the phrase falls apart is probably a bit excessive. We can probably say it's not as good. Disjointed. It might be a bit more disjointed and perhaps not as flawless, because it really does feel flawless up to that point. It just feels really remarkably done. I don't completely agree. It's not to say there's no validity in that opinion, it's just that if a game is better at one stage than it is at another, I don't think that's a mark against the game itself. But I guess at this point we are critiquing a masterpiece. And maybe some people don't think this game's a masterpiece, which is fine. I can accept that. Alright, let's not fuck around, let's just get straight over here. I'm already being... The reason why I'm not healing is because it's actually more dangerous for me to be standing still there. And I think we can see that I made the right judgment. Oh, for goodness sake. I'm glad I can take a hit. Could you imagine if I was getting one shot? In fact, that's what I would say. I completely... well, I'm going to take back what I said. I withdraw my previous comment about character progression not really being a factor. It is absolutely a factor, because if you can't take the hits as they come, you're in serious shit. Because if you... Do you see what I mean? Like, taking a single hit happens a lot. It is common. It is constant, actually. I'm gonna shield that. Oh, I'm really glad I didn't get hit by that shit. Alright, let me try to interpret what the hell is going on. Okay. sort of running out of opportunities. Running out of road, as they say. No, that's fine. It's fine, I'm making progress. It doesn't look like it, but I'm fucking making progress. And this stupid boss, stupid thing. It's the one moment where... I mean, look, obviously I don't play this game as well as I used to, but the reality is that you're not really going to see Doomlink Amateur Hour in a Souls game until I'm fighting the Bed of Chaos. Fighting the Bed of Chaos is when it looks like I've just started, like I haven't played the game before. First run, fresh-faced, bushy-tailed, not knowing my head from my asshole. That is, that's what happens when I'm up against the Bed of Chaos. It's just it is a chaotic fight, quite appropriately. It was obviously my mistake, not doing the save quit. Or the quit reload, whatever you want to call it. That is what I should have done there as well. But I forgot to do it. I was a bit too caught up in the moment. I need to try and incorporate that into my strategy every time. Alright. Onward. Yeah, I don't want constant failure against the Bed of Chaos to bring down the mood, but it is pissing me off a little bit. It's, you know, it's the predictability of my incompetence that frustrates me the most, I think. It's the knowledge that I'm spending, you know, all of this time in my life failing miserably to the Bed of Chaos. Alright. It's risky, but I'm going to do it. No, I'm not getting my position right. And that's entirely my fault. I know the position, and I thought that by doing the roll, I'd get myself onto it. I'm now taking risks that I don't need to be taking. You know, risks that shouldn't be taken when I'm already performing like shit. I need to be taking the route that is certain to get me onto that fucking branch. But instead I'm going, oh hey, I'm not in quite the right spot, but maybe if I roll, that'll be fine. No. Go to the right spot, Doomlink. Like, just, oh my god. Anyway. It's the fucking Bed of Chaos, you know? Just suck it up and keep trying. That's the strategy. I don't think they ever did a boss like this again, did they? I think that's their way of admitting that it's a bit gimmicky. It's definitely gimmicky. I don't think that can be contested. Well, anything can be contested, but I don't think they did it again. Nothing is immediately jumping out at me from my memories, but like a boss where instead of just having a straightforward confrontation, you're instead fulfilling conditions that will ultimately lead to the killing of the boss. I can't. I mean, obviously you do have some bosses where there will be conditions that need to be fulfilled before you can kill it, maybe, but for that to be the entirety of the fight, can't think of anything. So, I'm not actually playing the remastered version, AJ. It says the remastered version on the live stream because that is where the audience is. No one's specifically looking for the original PC version. I'm playing the original PC version. I am using double tap circle to jump. Weirdly, I had completely forgotten that they changed it to L3 in that game. You might actually be able to do circle if you choose to do so. But yeah, L3 is definitely better. You've got more control. It's more comfortable. Oh, fuck you. It ignored my shield, that's what it did. You could see that my stamina was heavily drained, and that's the reason why. So fucking annoying. Look at this, I'm gonna get hit and killed. Not killed. Alright, let's not heal, let's just go for the drop. Quick, quick, quick. Fuck you. Just the constant nature of the swinging of the fucking arms. Just the repetition. Oh, I hate you so much. I hate this boss. Why am I struggling so much with it today? I do have my moments where I really struggle with this boss, but today is a special day. I can't quite get my head around it. Can't quite mechanically deal with it. I don't want to be stuck in a loop where I'm constantly healing every single attack that comes my way. Get hit, heal. Get hit before I can evade the next attack. Heal. Get hit before I can evade the next attack. I don't want to be in that position. That was definitely about to happen. Because eventually, in that situation, the boss catches up to you, I find. But wow. I think what frustrates me, and look, my performance when playing this game is not that important to me anymore, but when you're sitting there getting absolutely bodied by a boss for 15 minutes, it kind of destroys any credibility that you may have in making any recommendations on how to play the game well. So, yeah, all I can say is this is the exception to the rule. I've always struggled with this boss. It's just fiddly. Your window of opportunity is very specific. But I'm sure I've had many instances on camera where I haven't had much issue. It's not like I always struggle, it's just that it's so frequent that I will have a really nasty interaction with the boss that is starting to bother me at this point. Yeah, okay. Okay. Simultaneously lenient of the boss, yet very annoying. You saw that I came to a halt. I came to a halt and believed that I was safe. I was not safe. I still got hit by the fire and unfortunately was pushed off the damn branch. We have now entered the territory of just bullshit deaths. There's incompetence, there's poor play, there's misreading the opportunity, but now we have entered into the realms of, you know, these are unfair deaths that are just bad luck. So, fine. All you do is keep persisting, keep going. Definitely a notable contradistinction to the previous recording where I just sort of blazed through half the game in one sitting without any issues whatsoever. Now I'm getting absolutely pissed on. Absolutely pissed on. And to describe the psychology of an experience like this, building anger rarely results in better play. Better performance. Rarely results. You have to find a way to calm yourself and just focus on what needs to be done rather than getting worked up, because getting annoyed leads to impatience. And patience leads to death. Sorry, impatience leads to death. Patience leads to success. That is what the Soul series is. You can see the previous confrontation, he was not triggered into doing that. She was not triggered into doing the swiping, which gave me the opportunity to go forward. I became just... that time I became distracted by the giant flaming appendage coming down to attack. And I completely missed the swiping. I missed that it was coming. I did not evade. I got hit and killed. What is this? Attempt 7? Something like that? The last time that I had an on-camera blowout like this against the Bed of Chaos was probably... well, I can't even remember. It's happened before. I have had instances on camera where this has happened, where I just keep failing at the Bed of Chaos, but it has been a long time. You just strike it sometimes. I think in this particular live stream series, this is build number 4, maybe? Build number 3? I think it's number 4. Haven't had issues like this yet in this series, but... it's delaying me. Think of how far I would have come just through progressing through the game if I wasn't just sitting here wasting my time. Oh, just no fucking words. The amount of misery that this one boss has caused me in my life. Well, I shouldn't be that dramatic. I'm not currently miserable, and I have not previously been miserable. I will rephrase that to say that this boss has caused me much inconvenience in my life. Much inconvenience. And wasted time. There's just no fucking reason for this shit. It's a shit boss. You know, it begs the question, do I have the strategy wrong? Not really. Not really. I know how to succeed in this fight, it's just... And the thing is, once you get to this point, you're not guaranteed to succeed. But I'm not going to be pessimistic, let's just focus on the task at hand. Kill it quick. I've definitely stood there right in front of it and died plenty of times. Plenty of times. That's probably the most common scenario where I die. Do you know what pisses me off? I finished the fight with that much health left. The successful run ends up looking like a fluke. Do you know what? I just can't fucking stand this fight. Absolutely insufferable. But it's over. It's over and done with. That's the important thing. I think I just wasted about 25 to 30 minutes on that shit. But anyway. Armor of Thorns, let's go and get it. I believe I know where it is. Daughter of Chaos. Feeling pretty deflated after that. I believe this is the armor set. Yes. Very good, I've got my new armor set. The weight is considerably greater than what I had, so I'm glad that I focused on endurance. It's still not enough, but that's alright. I can just keep going. It looks cool, doesn't it? I think that looks really cool. I think part of my assessment of its appearance being positive, part of the reason why I like it so much is because I do not use it very, very often at all. It has not appeared in previous builds that I've done over the last 10 years even. I now have 2 Lord Souls, AJ. I pushed ahead to do the Bed of Chaos first, so that I could get this armor set as soon as possible. So, yeah. As for the defense, you can see it's very middling. It's not low, and it's not excessively high. I would say the defense to weight ratio is not ideal. The resistances aren't exceptional. Are there any benefits to this thing? Like if I roll into enemies, do they get hit? I don't think so. Oh no, yeah, so by wearing it and rolling, you can damage enemies, so that's one thing. Very situational. It's probably not so much about the damage numbers. Probably more to do with the poise damage that is dealt against certain enemies. Oh yeah, good to mention the poise as well. So the poise is 40. That's actually, yeah, I'd say for the weight, acceptable. Certainly wouldn't want less, but yeah. Do I need the wolf ring with this? Possibly not. 40 poise is doable. Wolf ring might be excessive. As for what I would use in place of the wolf ring, nothing that I currently have. Could use the ring of steel protection. Could use a number of different rings. But definitely going to be relying on the Havel's ring for this particular build. The only builds where I wouldn't use Havel's Ring are very light builds where I'm not using the Dark Wood Grain Ring. So, yeah, because obviously Dark Wood Grain requires a very low percentage. Okay, this is probably going to upgrade through Twinkling Titanite. I have 2 Twinkling Titanite, so I could definitely do with acquiring more of that. But most particularly, I could do with increasing my endurance a little further. We're going to focus solely on endurance until we can fast roll with this thing. Alright. I suppose I could make it a little easier by not having a shuttle. It's worth mentioning that I should be focusing on upgrading this. It's just a secondary to deal with people who are turtling me. If I'm getting... makes it sound like I'm using it for PvP. If I encounter enemies with shields, I've got my shuttle. So... the decision to use the shuttle, I think, should reflect the fact that this is not like a pure Dex build. I wouldn't really recommend the shuttle for a pure Dex build. It is pure Dex. This is the confusing thing. This is why PyroDex is slightly problematic in my mind. As I said before, it could be argued that any dexterity build you do should have a pyromancy element to it, because you're getting faster casting speed, and pyromancy does not have any sort of stat requirement related to it. So just add pyromancy to your dexterity builds. But the purist in me, and I don't know if that's even the word that I should be using, but there's something in me where I feel like if I'm going to use pyromancy, it has to be a build specifically for pyromancy. So the nature of pyromancy in this game is working against me, because there really are no requirements to use it. It's a little bit too accessible for different builds. So, yeah, interestingly, I'm treating this as a build where I'm not going to have super high dexterity, because the reality is that a weapon that doesn't, you know, it's only got a C scaling. It may go to a B. It probably goes to a B. But there are other weapons that typically you would use in a dexterity build that would be better than shield ignoring attacks from a shuttle. But anyway, I'm doing it for fun, and if it feels like I'm really, really useless, then that's... or rather not as useful as I could be, then maybe I'll change weapons. But it's a secondary. It's my sidearm level 1 Pyromancer build. Can't say I've ever done one of those. Admittedly, the last time I did a deprived build, as a starting class, long time ago. There were various benefits depending on the build you wanted to make to use deprived. Deprived was when every point counted. And that was usually like... that was for PvP builds where it was important to be invading at a certain soul level. So if you were making a, let's say, soul level 60 build, which was designed to invade through the early game, sorry, not early game, more like mid-game, maybe even soul level 40 or 50 build, deprived was pretty important. The benefits you would get through having deprived under those circumstances were pretty significant. That's not really how I played the game. I didn't create invasion builds that were designed to invade throughout the game. I didn't have this sort of sick fantasy where I liked to deeply inconvenience people just trying to play through the game. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It was designed to be that way. But it didn't... it's not how I like to play. I was more interested in dueling. I did a little bit of, you know, soul-destroying, gameplay interrupting invasions, but it didn't feature prominently in my PvP play. Didn't feature prominently. I used to do it in the catacombs a little bit. Just people innocently going through the catacombs and I completely ruined their lives. It did happen a little bit, I'm going to admit, but that was early on. Eventually, I don't know what it was. I'm not going to say it was an empathetic response. I think that I just liked the controlled environment of duels. So in other words, invading in places where people are receiving you. People who are standing there intentionally waiting to be invaded and then a fight ensues. That is typically when I would invade. And then more often than not, I would be the person who conducts reverse hollowing and waits to be invaded by people. Because a part of me really enjoyed frustrating a person who wants to ruin someone's day, who wants to ruin someone's run by standing there and saying, I'm ready for you, come and get me. And then they try to, pull you through the area. They start reversing. They keep you targeted and then they reverse through, trying to get the mobs involved. Fuck off. I would, depending on what I'd do, I would either meet their challenge and shit on them anyway, because I used to be pretty good at the game. It was a small window where I was exceptional, very small window. And then I went straight back to being mediocre. But, sometimes I'd meet their challenge and shit on them. And then other times I'd wait them out, and eventually they would come. They would come. Because I found that, occasionally you'd get the guy who literally doesn't have a life and doesn't mind sitting there for an hour. Actually doesn't mind. He'll just go off and, I don't know, load up RedTube or something. But, yeah, more often than not, waiting them out would get them to come. They'd come crawling and they'd be like, okay, I'll fight you. And then you just absolutely drop them and do the point down. That's how you do it. Or how you did it. This is all past tense. This is in the murky past. Reverse backstab fish. Yeah. What would end up happening there, obviously, is your mutual backstab. The mutual backstab was fine. What that would usually result in was the person no longer going for the backstab. They would fight a little more. Or rather, they would only go for the backstab when the opportunity presented itself, or if they thought that they could sneak it in at a moment that you weren't expecting it. But yeah, obviously reverse backstab fish, as you describe it, was a pretty essential counter to how people were playing the game by about 2013 or so. Backstab fishing was not as prominent in 2011 and some parts of 2012 as it was 2013 and beyond. By 2013, it was Hornet Ring and backstab fishing. So, yeah, the mutual backstab. To explain, that's when on your screen and on their screen, a backstab was achieved. The way that the game dealt with it was that it would deal damage to no one. Basically, it would result with you just standing there while the person actually goes through the animation of being backstabbed, but you're just standing there, not actually participating. It's kind of funny. It's funny when it happens, but it happens when both parties succeed in backstabbing the other, and that was the best defense to a backstab. It was to flip it around. You'd sort of rotate. You'd basically make contact and rotate around the player. It was very timing focused. But anyway. So, endurance. Been sitting here speaking endlessly. Alright. So, next thing is the shield. The Black Knight shield. Where would I get that shield? What would be the best way? Obviously, the best way is the kiln of the first flame, but I would much prefer to get it before reaching the kiln. We could try... This is only a suggestion, there may be better options. We could try the Undead Asylum. Well, if I weren't to do the Undead Asylum, where else would I go? I'd be looking for the ones that don't respawn, wouldn't I? Do the Undead Asylum ones respawn? That's a good question. What I'll do Well, I don't think I have the gold serpent ring, I don't have symbol of avarice, I don't have any of that. I've got enough humanity. That's one good thing. How about we get a shield just for the meantime? Like, I don't think this is where... Oh no, this is not as rounded as I was expecting. So interesting how this picture, this image, makes the shield look much more rounded. But no, it's pretty much the same shape as the one from Demon Souls. I certainly wouldn't be using this, not even for visual purposes. This is just unnecessary. Still can't fast roll. That's fine. I was kind of expecting that. So, if I, for instance, used this shield... Well, no, I think... So, 56... Okay, this technically... this has better stability, which is important. I just hate using the Dragon Crest shield for too long. It feels like I'm just not performing in my build. It's like there's a very crucial aspect to my build that I'm just letting be unsatisfactory, if that makes sense. I just don't want to be in a situation where I'm refining the build at the end of New Game. It feels a little bit like a waste. The more of New Game that I can play with a build that feels complete, the more satisfying it's going to be. Yeah, the Boulder Side Shield is good. But I don't... That's one that drops, isn't it? You can't buy the Boulder Side Shield, so I don't know if I want to go farming for anything, even if it drops kind of quickly, if I'm just going to replace it. The Boulder Side Shield is not what I am looking for. Oh, you can buy one from the blacksmith. Okay, I'll get it now. I don't know why I thought that you had to get it to drop. Boulder Side Shield. I used to use that with my lighter build. It is good. If you've got a lighter build where every unit of weight counts, Boulder Side Shield is very good. I don't mind being a bit heavier until I get my endurance to a level where it's high enough. Nope. Unless it's different blacksmith. Does the giant blacksmith sell it? I don't remember it being something that you can purchase, but I could be remembering wrong. Crestfallen Merchant sells it. It's a fucking 1% chance from the Boulder Knights. Okay, so there is a merchant who sells it. Let's go and buy it. I would like to think, and I can't say this for certain, that I was not foolish enough in the past to grind for the shield. I'm pretty positive that I didn't. But I've definitely, I've definitely done grinding for the sword, the Boulder Side Sword. Love that sword. That's one of my favorite swords in the game. Boulder Side Sword. I will get it with this build. Just don't want to be doing any grinding right now. That's the sort of thing that I will work on towards the end of a new game build. Give it a rest, Snake Man. Come, Snake Man. Come hither. And get a sword in the dick. That's what just happened to you. If it were in my power to not aim for the dick, I would do it. But 'tis not in my gift to avoid that, because I stick my sword in one place, and if you happen to be tall enough for it to be a dick shot, bad luck for you. Bad luck for you. Foolish Snake Man. Alright. Crestfallen Knight. I don't like this guy. He's definitely crestfallen, but he has absolutely no reservations about putting me down as well. He, like, completely poo-poos my efforts to, you know, do whatever I'm doing, which is, what am I doing in this game again? Oh god, now I have to think about the lore. Linking the flame, linking the fire, whatever they say. Yeah, so my efforts to link the fire, whatever that is. Sorry, I'm one of those contemptible individuals who actually doesn't care about the lore of the game. I don't actually say that with any sort of pomposity. I genuinely don't really care about the story, and I accept that that's kind of sad in various ways, but yeah, he really puts you down. He does not really, he is not conducive to an adventure filled with alacrity and inspiration. You end up just feeling like shit when you talk to him. Soul of Quelaag, do I need this? Can I do you know what, I'm not going to consume it. I almost have 4,000 souls. It is a 4,000 soul requirement. I have 3,766 souls, so I suspect that when I kill the enemy down here, at the bottom of these stairs, I will get the souls that I need. Soul of Quelaag, will I make use of that? I flirted with the possibility of getting the Chaos Blade, but I really don't want the Chaos Blade, and the reason why is because it is so almost indescribably inferior to the Iaito that I don't even want it to be in my inventory. I do not like the Chaos Blade, and I think no one likes the Chaos Blade. Someone probably does. Someone probably enjoys using a shit weapon just because it's different. It's different to what would be ideal, and it might be different to what they usually use. But I really don't like it. It's just... it's the worst katana. Put that on the record. It's the worst katana. I would say it's the worst straight sword. Okay, that might be really excessive. There must be a straight sword that's worse. But it's just terrible. What it is it's the Quelaag's Fury Sword, but worse. And it's a katana that's not as strong as the Iaito, and probably the Uchikatana in most scenarios, that also hurts you when you slash with it. It's just shit. I don't think that it deserves to exist. You know, to quote a certain someone... oh god, I can't remember the quote now. That always helps. When you quote someone you don't remember. This sword doesn't even deserve a spot in my inventory, but it would make a good coaster for my drink. Sorry, I'll try to execute that better next time. Oh, for goodness sake. One thing I definitely need to work on is my number of homeward bones. I have almost none. I have been laboring under a disadvantage of not really being able to use them whenever I want, because I feel like I don't have enough. Yeah, the thing with Quelaag's Fury Sword, and the reason why I'm not using it, is because it's so obvious. I've used it so many times, it's obvious for a dexterity build. It's a nice sword, but it's a sword that you can overuse. It's like a good album that you really enjoy listening to. You can over-listen to it. It's never going to stop being good, but it's going to lose some of its flavor and some of its importance and significance if you just play the shit out of it. And in this case, if you just use that sword with every build that happens to have a bit of dexterity on it, it is going to lose a lot of attachment on my part. I'm trying to limit my use. of the Quelaag's Fury Sword. Lovely weapon, though. Really lovely. I think part of the reason why it's such an obvious choice is because it comes from a boss soul that you get relatively early on in the game as well. So use the Chaos Blade with the Ring of the Evil Eye. Yeah. And only use the... what's it called again? The Dark Seal or some shit like that? Only use the Dark Sign. Never use Homeward Bones. Just intentionally harm yourself. Alright, I'll be back momentarily, just need to go to the bathroom. I've returned. Again, I apologize for the fact that I can't really give you guys any sort of background sound, any sort of ambient noise. I suppose I can. What I can do is I can Alt-Tab to OBS, mute myself, take away my webcam, and then also go back into the game, and then give you your ambiance that you have been... that you have had stripped away from you. Yeah, just to make the point clear, every single time I Alt-Tab from the game, it just doesn't send any audio to OBS. Okay. So, kind of tempted to get the Ring of Steel protection while I'm here, because I think the Wolf Ring, and look, I'm not concerned about having too much poise, absolutely no concern when it comes to that. 80 versus, what, 40? Yeah, 80 versus 40 is obviously much better than the latter. But it feels like it's excessive, and that I could be using that ring slot in a better way. And I think that would come in the form of the Ring of Steel protection. Unless, of course, I think of something better. The thing about the rings in this game is that there are so many that I just don't use. Like, let's take, for example, the one that increases your counterattack damage. This one. Oh no, that's Hornet. What's the one that increases counterattack damage? It's one of these sort of rings. I would say that that's useful in certain situations, but I never use it. It is one of those rings that I will not touch. Not because it's particularly bad, or that I don't like it, it's just that you've got 2 ring slots, okay? And for me, I'm usually taking up one of them with Havel's ring. Here's a question. Would I rather use the Ring of Favor and Protection, or the Ring of Steel protection? Leo Ring is strong if you have a thrusting weapon. I think that's what I was describing, isn't it? The one that increases counterattack damage. Leo Ring is super strong. I'm going to have to actually check. I'm always open to new information, but I don't know. So... Oh, okay. That's really interesting, and I will tell you why. It is what I was just describing, but I had forgotten that it only works with thrusting weapons. Counter damage is really only good on thrusting attacks. How interesting is that? Ooh. I know where that's leading. Do you know where that's leading? Leo Ring S-Stock build. Ooh. That's what I like. So, it is true. I mean, that's new information. The Leo Ring is for thrusting damage only, and as far as... or rather, thrusting attacks only, and as far as counterattack damage being particularly good for thrusting weapons. I wasn't really aware of that. Look, at the end of the day, counterattack damage is bonus damage. So I don't think it could be said that it's bad in any sort of way for other weapon types, but I guess it's particularly useful, or particularly good, with thrusting weapons. Okay. I might have to make a build like that very soon. Really? That's alright. I don't mind. I actually had forgotten that you get it from Ornstein. But that's not that problematic. Obviously, I prefer to fight Smo as the level 2, the powered up version. But Ornstein is perfectly workable. Not that difficult. So, there is scope for improvement on my pyromancies right now. I've obviously got fucking Fire Orb. Fire Orb. I am soul level 65 and I have Fire Orb, so yes, these things can be improved upon. I've got Great Combustion. Here's the thing. I am pretty strict with my use of pyromancy, not because I'm concerned about being overpowered or anything like that. It's that I want it to be damage focused. I will sometimes use Power Within, but usually not outside of a PvP context. I enjoy Power Within in PvP because I used to be confident enough to take a demerit, to sustain a disadvantage in order to get the upper hand over the enemy. That was fine, but I wouldn't really use it in PvE. So Power Within, not really interested. Maybe for a boss fight that was particularly difficult? I'm not sure. I can't really think of a situation where I would even be bothered to use Power Within. Iron Flash, is that what it was called? The one that makes you really, really strong. Since that patch that made you basically immobile when using it, not really worth using. But it has to be said that that needed to be patched. For any person who had the misfortune of playing Dark Souls back when you could use Iron Flesh and still move around reasonably well, wow. A, everyone had it, and B, it's pyromancy. You already have no particular requirement for using it. Pyromancy is far too accessible, so they had to make Iron Flesh as immobile as it has become in order for it to make any sense. Iron Flesh was disgusting when this game came out. Absolutely disgusting. It was a nasty, nasty little world, the online of this game in the original patch. Because you had people flipping around with Darkwood Grain Ring and heavy builds, like properly heavy builds. Because as I recall, Darkwood Grain Ring used to be the same as the light roll requirement. It replaced your light roll. It wasn't like a separate weight requirement. And yeah, it was garbage. There were a lot of things, I think. You had the Eagle Shield, so the Eagle Shield had really high stability, something like that. So everyone had the fucking Eagle Shield, everyone had the Darkwood Grain Ring, everyone was using Iron Flesh. It was shit. They did not get the balance right with the original patch of this game. But, That's why they patched things. It was good. I was very happy with the fact that they were patching things. Because you got an immediate change in the way people played the game. And what it ultimately did was it broadened the way people experienced the game. It made people do different things. Because the imbalances were so acute that if you wanted to be successful, if you wanted to have an edge over the person that you were fighting, you had to use those things. So, or perhaps we could even say if you wanted to compete in any sort of meaningful way, you had to use those things, otherwise you were at a severe disadvantage. So, that was the situation. Why am I getting in this cage? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just sort of meandering around. Good day. Hello, sir. I'm pretty sure I got the timing of that right, but I suppose if I had gotten it right, I wouldn't have failed the riposte. So we do have the Titanite demons down here, or no, we've only got the last one, the one that's a bit stronger. He's still alive. I don't think I'm using Demon Titanite for anything here. It's time for me to consider... Oh, maybe not while standing right next to two aggressive snake men. It's time for me to consider what, if anything, I can do with my build between now and proceeding to probably fight Seath Escalus via the Duke's Archives, because I want Twinkling Titanite to upgrade my armor set, so getting access to the Crystal Cave is probably going to be the priority. I can definitely upgrade my shield a bit, and I may do that. It's just that I don't have much in the way of souls right now. So I could go to the Painted World. I should have the doll. Have I got the doll? Peculiar doll, yes, I do. I am going to kill you. You have not been spared my wrath. Serpentine creature. Saurian man. Alright. There's not much. Not much in the way of souls, but it's better than nothing. Alright. Tranquil Walk of Peace, you're absolutely right. Tranquil Walk of Peace was filthy. Filthy. How did they balance Tranquil Walk of Peace? I remember it being used a lot, and I remember they patched something, but I don't remember what the patch did. Weirdly, I've forgotten that. It was the area of effect, wasn't it? I think it had a much wider area of effect. So, the patch made it so that you had to be very, very close quarters in order for it to actually affect the other person. That's what it was. I believe that was the nature of the patch. Fucking hell. So interesting, the things that you forget. So Tranquil Walk of Peace had slipped my mind. That is so bad. The absolute state of PvP in Dark Souls during 2011 was unbelievable. And obviously you had things like the Dragon Head glitch as well, so people were making these builds. People were at liberty to make whatever fucking build they wanted. No holds barred. And they were just shitting on people. Like, you're just going through the game and you had the bottomless box glitch. So you had these twink saves. It just absolutely decimating people in the Undead Burg. It was pathetic. It was the state of PvP interactions in this game used to be truly horrific. The bottomless box glitch, for anyone who doesn't know what it was the ability to carry weapons across save files. So you could have like a maxed out save file, and then you gain access to equipment that you really shouldn't be able to get at basically the start of the game. And it was, yeah, extraordinary. Really extraordinary. The more I think about it, the happier I am that From Software really took the time to refine their game. Very important that they did that. Imagine if they hadn't done any of that. The landscape of online interactions in this game would be totally different if they had not made any changes. The chances of them not making changes are kind of low in the sense that I'm sure that they cared. They of course cared. But imagine if they didn't. Imagine if it just didn't matter to them. They had already made the game, that's it. What if they were really hubristic and thought, well, we've put so much attention into this game, we probably haven't gotten anything wrong, let's just leave it alone. And if people complain, it's their fault. You know, what if they were that way inclined? What if that's how they approached it? Clearly they didn't. They did not approach it in that way. They patched things that were out of balance, and they weren't just out of balance. It wasn't just things that were being taken advantage of. They were glaring inconsistencies in how the game was being balanced. They were just very obvious issues. But unsurprisingly, they were focused on other things. You know, I wouldn't mark... that wouldn't be a mark against From Software that they allowed those sort of issues into the finished product. They were focused on other things, quite rightly. You know, when you're making one of the most defining video games of all time, yeah, you might have other thoughts in mind. So, it's fine. I really would not hold it against Capcom. Their response being as fulsome and adequate as it was is really the legacy to focus on. Okay, so what am I doing? I think I had made a decision. It was to upgrade the Boulder Side Sword. Sorry, Boulder Shield. We're not getting the Side Sword just yet. We're going to Anor Londo. We are going to the Painted World. Because I need some money. Or souls. To use the correct term. So, funnily enough, the starting stability of the shield absolutely shits on, I think, every other shield that I currently own. Yeah, Boulder Side Shield. Lovely. The good thing about the Boulder Side Shield is that it's not only functional, it's attractive. It's very long. Very narrow. It's got that big spike going on. The spiked shape. It's a satisfying looking shield. I don't know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of something. I just realized that this could have actually gone quite poorly. Like, what if, for example, I had moved this at some point and then didn't have access? Unlikely, but it would have been a much safer option to go via the Chamber of the Princess Bonfire. Anyway, I'm glad that I didn't end up with egg on my face. I love walking while... I used to be able to do really weird things, like just... yeah, strange glitches while walking around while that thing moved. It's a bit better now. I sort of agree that the shield looks a little bit too long when it's on your back, but... and it sort of wiggles around a lot. But it's not the end of the world. It doesn't spoil the experience enough. I suspect that if I had kept... oh, do you know what? Yeah, if I kept the... I've decided this is a better idea. Let's move this back up and then take the bottom stairs to that spot. That's going to be a better approach, I think. Excellent. So yeah, just to be clear, and I'm sure everyone knows this, the Painted World is a great place to grind souls. That's really its only function. It is an entirely optional area. It feels a little bit like DLC, but it's not. It's built into the base game. And, yeah, it's really the only reason why you should visit it. If you don't want, say, the Life Hunt Scythe, or the... oh, what's it called? You know when you're expecting a word to immediately come to your mind and it just doesn't? Velka's Rapier, if you want. Velka's Rapier. It's here. What else is there? There's something on a tower with the crow people that you can get. The red sign soapstone is here. And there's another thing as well. What's it called? The gnarled finger? Something like that? Resets the instance. Can be good for invasions. Like, for being invaded. If you're standing around trying to wait for people to invade you, can be good to do that just to reset everything and then people can invade you better. Although it did open yourself up to all sorts of rumours and placebo and all of this business. No one's invading me, I'm going to use the gnarled finger. I keep saying gnarled finger, but I think it's called something else. It's a DLC thing. It wasn't originally in the game, but then when Prepare to Die came out, you were able to acquire a item that was somewhere within the painted world. And yeah. It helped with invasions, if you were trying to get invaded. A pretty bespoke and unusual item, to be honest. Yeah, I wonder what it's called. It's not gnarled finger, it's something else. Do you know what? We'll go looking for it. We're in the painted world. And I think I remember where it is, roughly. Admittedly, I have not actually gone to get it since 2013. Weird thought, that was 11 years ago. That was the last time I went looking for it. If you haven't noticed, I am availing myself of the flinching capacity, the ability of this particular armor set to flinch people just by rolling around. Good to use. Ooh. In fact, pyromancy burns them up so much they don't even excrete any poison. That's quite good. Definitely recommended that you use some kind of pyromancy against those guys. Anyway. So, I think just there. See that little balcony? That's it. We're going to find out what it's called. That thing that I can't remember the name of, but that I have somehow attached a name to. It's just on that balcony. How do I get to the top? I think you access it from this sign. It's been a long time. Is 11 years long enough for me to say that it's been a long time? I haven't done any invasions, PvP, nothing, since 2013, so I think that's long enough for me to be able to A, have vague memories, and B, be like, oh, that was a while ago. Hopefully it is. Depends how ancient those of you watching this recording are. If you stand up there long enough, you'll get a bunch of crow people falling down, and you can see that they're all here now. Dried finger, that's what it is. I wasn't sold on the fact that the word finger was even involved, to be honest with you. Was not sold. Turns out it was. Oh, it's the white rats! I forgot about the white rats. I'm not going to pretend that I'm excited to see... Well, I was a bit excited. They're actually pearlescent. Look, I'm sorry, but... you have no business reflecting light in that way. Absolutely no business. That's stomach churning. Look at that. Imagine a rat. I'm sorry. Imagine a rat that glistens when the light touches it. I actually feel sick even uttering those words. Unbelievable. A rat that glistens such that, you know, a varicolored spectacle meets one's eyes. I mean, unbelievable. Actually disgusting. I mean, unless it's really soapy. Maybe it's soapy. Someone was trying to clean it. I don't know. Fuck me sideways. It's enough to prevent me from eating for the next 7 days. Radiant rat. Yeah, it's radiant, alright. Maybe more like radioactive. It's fucking terrifying shit. Alright. You may have noticed. Find finger lotion, what? It's because it's dry, I guess. My dried finger needs lotion.
Put the lotion in the basket.
Not an exact quote, because I don't have an American accent. Ooh. What's going on? I don't need you exploding in my face. I'm going to guess that anything relating to fire will prevent your outward excretions. Very good. Alright, zombie dragon. But perhaps before zombie dragon, in case something untoward transpires, I will open this door so that I can get back here without difficulty. And it's not this door, excuse me. This is just a fog gate. I'm opening the door to the bonfire. This is the soul farming location. I really do feel terribly slow. I feel terribly slow. But yeah, dried finger. What I love about this thing, and I don't love it, actually. There's nothing that I love about it, but conversationally I'm saying that I find this to be interesting and vaguely amusing. It doesn't tell you anything about what it does. Dried finger with multiple knuckles. Shriveled but still... That's alright. I shall offer you latitude upon the basis that you are undead and stupid. Alright. So, dried finger with multiple knuckles, shriveled but still slightly warm. I've got no idea why it's still slightly warm. That doesn't make any sense, because it implies that it is always going to be slightly warm. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it was slightly warm when I picked it up, unless it's still somehow attached to a living thing, and I just have the severed thing. I don't understand. With this many knuckles, surely it cannot belong to anything human, so let me use it. Use. There's no information. There is a complete and almost shocking absence of information. My understanding of it, which could be slightly wrong or maybe missing some details, is that it resets the instance. So, like, if you've got a person trying to connect to you and they can't, doing that resets it. Maybe it's a form of white crystal that will actually prevent people from connecting to you. It could possibly be used in that way. I hadn't even thought of it that way. Like, maybe if you get the sense that you're about to be invaded and you use that thing, it'll kick them out before they can arrive. Hadn't even thought of doing it that way. That's what it does. That's what it does. Excuse me. I am being corrected. So what it does is it reduces the time in which another person can invade you. That's what it does. There is a grace timer that activates if you get killed by an invader. Is it when you get killed? Just goes to show that when you offer no information in game, sometimes you can just operate under completely false information. How I used to use it is that I would kill an invader, and then, yeah, I would use the dried finger to try and increase the number of times I would be invaded. Just goes to show that's not really helpful. It may have actually helped in some ways. I'm sure at some point I would have benefited from the actual effect of it, because I was using it with the intention of being invaded, to be clear. But, yeah, wow. It seems to work in a bit of a different way to how I thought it did at the time. Probably some random forum post. Based on conjecture. And minimal evidence. It's my fault though, like, for not doing my research. I probably had a look around the time the DLC came out and didn't bother updating myself. You know, the community is not to be blamed for that sort of thing. I am to be blamed for my negligence. But yeah, I'm not too worried about still not knowing. Because quite frankly, I walked away from the PvP scene of this game. What's the funny thing I can do with the dragon butt? Tell me, AJ. What can I do with it? Oh. AJ, that is, yeah. That was very well known in those days. In fact, that's pretty much the only way that I progressed through the painted world. Yeah, that was known very early on. I don't completely remember how to progress through the painted world. I think you have to go down into the tunnel, deal with the bone wheels, get a key or some shit. I don't know. Like, I don't have time to do that shit. The way that I've always progressed through the painted world for almost the beginning of the game, not literally the beginning, but very early on, was to jump attack that thing. So, yeah. I am pretty intimately familiar with that. I thought you were going to tell me something really remarkable, like, I don't know, I can make it spin, or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, that was, someone worked that out pretty quickly. And it was a big deal. So, I've realized that I've come to the painted world, and I'm at a bit of a disadvantage. I don't have the Silver Serpent Ring, which I do have access to right now. And I also don't have the Symbol of Avarice. So, what the hell am I doing? That is the question. Oh, that's true. I needed some souls in order to upgrade this shield. I've got 26,000, which isn't too bad. I am intimately familiar with the dragon butt, yes. I know all about the dragon butt. I know about all of the zombie dragon's orifices. They are all familiar to me. I could even describe the colour and texture of the anus of that zombie dragon. But I don't think anyone's requesting that information from me at this time. Anyway, I've got 26,000 souls. That may be enough to actually upgrade this shield. So I've unintentionally acquired souls that may be enough to achieve the goal that I was originally setting out to do. But the grinding of souls, I'm not really set up to do that. I need a little bit more. I need the Silver Serpent Ring and the Symbol of Avarice, both of which are not too hard to get. Symbol of Avarice can be hard if you're extremely unlucky, but that's alright. As a consequence of ingesting water and alcohol, I must visit the bathroom again. I'll be back in a moment. I'm back. What the hell is that? My hair looks like it's so sweeping. I look like I had this business going on, you know? Oh, man. Do you know my hair used to look like this? Back in... probably around the time I stopped doing PvP in this game. My hair used to look not exactly like this. I used to have the sweep going on. Oh my god. Not exactly like that. Much more styled, much less awkward looking, but yeah. I remember receiving advice. I believe it was 2011. I remember receiving advice from a friend in high school. He said, "Don't do the curtains, man. Don't do the curtains. Have it sweeping over." Well, I took that advice, put it that way. It was a strange thing. Strange thing. I liked that guy. He was a good guy. You know when you look back on high school and you go, fuck, I really should have put more attention into the people that I associated with. It's incredible the sort of, like how much better life would have been if I associated with different people. And weirdly, if I had associated with that guy a little bit more, high school would have been better. Really would have been. It's just strange. Sometimes the people... Sorry, I don't even know what I'm saying. In the sense that I'm not really giving you all of the details, but I'm speaking to details that you know nothing about. Basically, this guy was pretty cool. He was down to earth. He was naturally intelligent, very smart, very easy to get along with. And I think he advised me of that because he sort of looked at my hairstyle and was like, oh, someone's going to rip on him for that. Not that he thought that I would be victimized, because I was never the type to be victimized and then like sort of have a problem. I think he just sort of, he was genuinely trying to be helpful. The reason why I took his advice at the time was because I took his advice not as gospel, but as something worth listening to, because I held him in very high regard. But it's so interesting how, despite holding him in high regard, I didn't associate with him all that much. He wasn't part of my friend group. I wish that I had just been a little more discerning. Chosen not to associate with the people that I was used to associating with, but instead cultivating my relationships a little more. It's weird how that goes on. I think we underestimate how often we do things without thought. I guess particularly as you're a teenager. That's probably the biggest point. But yeah. If I could do it all again, I'd do it. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat, I'll tell you what. It's not like it affects me, it's more that I think of lost opportunities. That's what I think about. Alright, so what I'll do is take my 34,000 souls, which is probably enough to upgrade this shield to a point where I'm happy with it. Weirdly enough, I don't have to upgrade it, because as we've identified, the stability is much better than anything we were using up until this point. You can see that it is worse than the Dragon Crest shield in more than one way. Whereas the... well, I suppose the stability makes up for it, doesn't it? Let's not focus on the elemental block resistances. That's probably a red herring. Let's focus predominantly on the stability and yeah. Point being, to be honest with you, even upgrading the shield with 34,000 souls in the event that 34,000 souls wasn't enough to upgrade it to a good level, even unupgraded, it is an improvement. So I shouldn't worry too much about it. I think I was in a position where I had, 3 digits worth of souls, which was obviously not going to be enough for anything relating to decent upgrades. But to be honest with you, I don't really need to upgrade it that much. So, bugger off. One weird thing that I still haven't worked out is the spawn conditions for the black iron guy. I'm trying to remember. Is that the name of the set? Black iron. I think so. So the black iron enemy, if we can refer to him in that way, he appears there under certain conditions, and weirdly, I don't know what they are. Open the door in the well? I don't think so. Because I never go in that well. I almost have no reason to go in that well. I have a feeling, AJ, that he appears there. No. I was about to theorize what it was, but then I've realized that that's not true. I was going to say that he appears there only when you go there the first time. Like, let's say you engage with the zombie dragon, but don't continue forward. He wouldn't then appear, but if you immediately go down there, he will appear. That might be what it is. Maybe if you fulfill that condition, going down there after killing the zombie dragon, if you fulfill that condition, he may appear every time, following on from then. But it's all theoretical, isn't it? I can get the black flame there. That's my fault. I should be looking into where to get pyromancies. I roughly have an idea. Well, actually, no. My idea of how to get the Chaos Fireball is so rough that I don't know where to get it. Okay, so I'm going to abjure the opinion that I had, the opinion that I held, that I had a rough idea. I have to admit that I don't remember where to get the Chaos Fireball, but do I have to join Quailana's Covenant for that? I think I do, don't I? The dying spider, as you referred to it, AJ. I think I have to join her covenant in order to get that. Turns out I do have a rough idea. Maybe my memories are so fleeting that I have them, then I become convinced that I don't have them, and then they suddenly re-enter my mind. God, it's quite unbelievable, actually. Normally one's memories, I've quite appropriately done this, which is possibly a good description of myself right now, but like, weirdly my memories are so fleeting and so unusual that I can be thoroughly convinced that I've got no idea how to get something, and then suddenly realize, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Oh, you just have to enter it to receive it. Okay. Well, I'm not part of any other covenant, so let's do it. Oh, that was a stupid use of it. That was a stupid use of a homeward bone. Not quite sure why I did that. Just to be clear, we're not going to be recording for much longer. My intention was to do 2 hours, but I'm doing more than 2 hours because I wasted so much time fighting the Bed of Chaos. That was annoying and unnecessary. Alright, enter covenant. Yeah. Excellent. Great Chaos Fireball. I'd forgotten that it was called Great Chaos Fireball. I suppose the significance of that is that it is a modified version of the Great Fireball. That's why it's called Great Chaos Fireball. I've got a free slot. How about that? Oh, that's alright. I'm going to replace this with Great Combustion. Easy as that. Almost immediately. My pyromancies have been upgraded immensely. For anyone who's interested, beverage today is sherry at about 18% ABV. Just in case anyone is curious. Alright. What I'm doing is reinforcing, not purchasing. Come on. Get with the program. So, I think I need 9 Titanite shards. We will purchase those now. To be honest, that's almost enough. Do I really need to go beyond that? For a shield that I'm only using in the interim? In the intervening period between now and when I actually get the Black Knight shield? Probably not. I think this is... God damn. Like, that's good enough. I understand... okay, so the balance of this shield is such that elemental guard capacity is limited and suboptimal. But you get really good stability. This squares with how I play the game. If I've got magic, fire, or lightning coming my way, I roll through it, ideally. Whereas physical attacks, I tend to shield it. So I wouldn't say that's an ideal way of playing the game or anything like that. It's just how I personally play. It's what logically makes sense to me. I think the reason why is because physical damage will be blocked to a degree that it is totally blocked. Like, I've just figured out why I do that. It's because if I use a shield, I know that I'm going to take damage in some form. So I try to evade it. Whereas if a physical attack is coming my way, I know that I can rely on my shield completely. That's exactly why I do that. That's good. Figuring out the logic behind the way that I play the game. I've just realized another use for my souls, which I have in some surplus, after having upgraded my shield to the point where I'm content to leave it now. I've got 26,166 souls. I'm going to use this to purchase Homeward Bones. I could definitely use with more of those. I've got 1 Homeward Bone left. Not good enough. Not good enough. On a separate note, happy to be playing Dark Souls right now. I need to play more Souls on my channel, I really do. I don't play enough of it. I think that if perhaps I played more Souls than I do, I would have more of a Souls following. If I were to say one thing with certainty, it is that I do not have a Souls following of any kind. I have a Monster Hunter following. Undoubtedly. I have people who tune into my live streams almost exclusively to watch me play Monster Hunter, but I do not have such a community for Souls. Admittedly, part of the reason would have to be that a person tuning in to watch me play Monster Hunter is probably going to get something a little bit more unique than what they would get with a Souls game. I'm not sure. Having said that, I might need to ruminate on that further. I must be able to present something different. Am I like a special kind of stupid? I think that's what it would be. It wouldn't be that I can offer something really valuable apart from other people when I play Souls. It's more that I'm sort of a person who has played Souls for a long time but doesn't regularly play, so I'm constantly struggling to remember certain things. Is that something enjoyable to watch? Probably not. So, I don't know. It's one of those weird moments where I don't actually know what I have to offer that is not on offer from other people who play Souls when it comes to this game series, but I suspect there's something. I don't think we could say experience, but how does that actually factor in? Like, I guess storytelling, yeah. Maybe storytelling is a good thing. The experience of playing the game in the past allows me to tell stories from personal knowledge that might be engaging in a certain way, but beyond that, I don't think I can really provide anything of real value in the context of this game as a content creator. Anyway, so aside from that line of conversation, and actually I can improve my pyromancy flame further, but I'm concerned. I'll tell you why I'm concerned. I've killed Quailana, and the swamp guy's gone. So I suspect that I'm going to have to wait until New Game Plus to upgrade my pyromancy flame. Yeah. That's probably true, AJ. That's what I was talking about before, but it is true that like actually playing the game when it came out is not that common. And I think the significance of that is that we're talking about a game that literally defined not just RPGs, but became its own genre. So there is a significance to having experience in playing it when it came out. So, yeah. I wouldn't say that I was discrediting myself in what I said, but I was trying to figure out what it was that I could offer that was a bit different. Because I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, that's probably what it would be. Anyway, I do at times, because the reality is I don't play this game much anymore, but I do get the feeling that when I come back to this game, I'm almost like a senile octogenarian who's just like, oh, I sort of remember this, and I sort of remember that. Oh, I wish I was as good as I used to be. It's kind of pathetic in a way. I should avoid that as much as I can, because it adds nothing. It's almost like sad. No, I don't really want to be in that space, but yeah, obviously my performance against the Bed of Chaos notwithstanding, I can try to avoid that, and I will do that. But yeah, so that's probably it for this live stream, only because I don't really want to go further. My intention was to do 2 hours. I've done a little bit more because my performance in the Bed of Chaos was actually woeful. Actually an embarrassment. So I've made up for that in some small way. I will probably do a little bit more soul farming to try and fast roll with this build. I'll calculate the percentages, fear not. It will be done. I'll figure out how to do the fast roll, or figure out what equip load I need to fast roll with this loadout. I suspect, actually, just as a side point, yes, this shield is 1 unit of weight heavier than the Dragon Crest's shield, so that has to factor in as well. But that's it. I will see you all next time I play this game. I'll try to not have it be so distant in the future that I've forgotten what I was doing in this recording, but yeah, I will genuinely try to record this game more often. Genuinely. Because I think I need to do more Souls. Both in terms of my enjoyment and also the way it crosses over with people who would be watching me anyway. I shall bid you farewell, and I thank you for watching. Bye bye.